An elderly salesman builds a billion-dollar fast food empire with arrogance and deceit. Hello friends, today I will tell you about the film Founder. Based on a true story, the film begins in 1954. The main character, salesman Ray Kroc, is trying to sell a diner owner a multi-mixer to make 5 milkshakes at the same time. Having been refused, they drag the device into the trunk of the car, where the lunch ordered earlier is waiting. Cafe workers cannot cope with the flow of orders. At the next point, he is also denied. In the evening, he talks to his wife on the phone from a hotel room, after which he listens to an audiobook on auto training, which says that a successful businessman must be persistent. After another failure, he calls his secretary, June Martin, who reports that some cafe owners from California ordered 6 multi-mixers at once. Ray, surprised by the volume, calls the left number to clarify whether the owner was mistaken. Through the noise and din working in the kitchen, Dick McDonald admits that he was mistaken. He needs not 6, but 8 mixers. Interested in the sudden success, Ray looks at the map for directions to California. He embarks on a journey to personally see the one who agreed to buy such a batch. Arriving in San Bernardino, the hero notices a giant queue outside the diner, but the woman in front of him is reassuring that the service here is very fast. When it's his turn, he places an order and gets his portion almost immediately. Ray, forced on duty to eat in such eateries, is very surprising speed and lack of utensils. Hamburgers are wrapped in disposable paper packaging. He sits down to have a bite to eat on a bench nearby and notice a man sweeping the garbage left by visitors. It turns out to be the McDonald magician, the owner of the diner. Ray introduces himself and expresses admiration for the well-established work, after which he is given a tour of the kitchen. Inside, the MOG shows the cooking process. A hamburger is prepared at once in several portions thanks to the know-how collected by oneself. Cooking is continuous and fast, so customers do not have to wait long. Ray also meets Mac's brother, Dick. He is extremely busy with quality control, so he never interacts with the guest. An admiring Ray invites the brothers to dinner to hear their story. In the evening, they say that they have been going to success for a long time, but the initial plans did not bring the expected profit. Having worked as drivers, they saved up for a cinema, but it soon went bankrupt due to the onset of the Great Depression. After learning from the success of the hot dog shop, the brothers decide to open their own diner. You always want to eat even during the economic crisis. They opened their first cafe in an arcade and then moved to San Bernardino. To do this, even had to dismantle the building to pass under the bridge. Everything went well at the new place after the opening, but soon sales fell due to teenagers occupying the parking lot and distracting waiters for flirting for the sake of tips, which significantly reduced the speed of work. Having calculated that the main sales come from 3 positions of hamburgers, drinks, and French fries, the brothers reduced the range of dishes and also removed cigarette machines and switched to paper bags. But this was not enough. McDonald's aimed to reduce wait times for orders and increase the flow of visitors. To plan the kitchen, they draw plans on the tennis court, while employees pretend to work. Thus, by experience, Dick deduced the optimal layout. A revolutionary idea nearly failed when patrons waited outside their waitresses' cars on opening day. Mac had to personally call them to the order window. Many abandoned the innovative approach and left. Even a grandiose performance in the evening did not help. A hail began, scaring away all the visitors. The brothers, resigned to failure, were wondering how to return to the old format when a small boy knocked on the window. Mac made free burgers for him as the last customer, but soon more customers arrived at the establishment. They told the diner to their friends, and soon there were queues in front of the first McDonald's. Ray tossed and turned in bed at night, unable to sleep in the morning. He meets the brothers in the parking lot and invites them to expand by opening a franchise. The salesman reads an enthusiastic speech which breaks down on a weighty argument. brothers have already tried. They opened a couple of points in other cities, but it was problematic to monitor the quality of products and the work of employees there. Mac even ended up in the hospital due to stress. Ray also notices a photo of a concept photo for a diner building that was used to build a dot in Phoenix. The hero goes there to see firsthand. A closed establishment shining in the night with a golden color enchants him. He stands in front of him and admires. After which he returns home. Ray tells the wife and brothers and their know-how, but she recommends not investing in a new business. Kroc returns to work and is a traveling salesman watching small towns across the country while on the road. However, after another rejection, he decides to try again. He convinces the brothers that the McDonald's franchise can become a kind of symbol of America as a church and a flag, rally the nation around food and promote family values. Poppy convinces Dick to agree and they soon sign Ray to a contract. While the brothers work at home, he will be promoting the franchise around the country. The hero travels to banks to get a loan, but the bankers recognize him from his last visit and refuses. He has to mortgage the house to get money to start building the first McDonald's. However, the brothers slow down the process a bit. The fact is that Ray wants to build a cafe on the foundation and any changes must be agreed with the Wild. They also wind up the idea of an advertising collaboration with Coke, which angers Ray. Despite all the troubles, the first McDonald's will soon open in Des Plaines. Ray personally supervises the work of employees to meet high standards. He also draws attention to the smart chef Fred Turner. In the evenings, Ray, like Poppy, personally cleans the area near the cafe. Later, the hero talks about his idea to his comrades in the local club. Playing golf, he encourages them to invest in a franchise and open their points. However, visiting them personally, he sees that there is no quality control there. The menu contains various dishes, the area is dirty, unsanitary, and the food quality is disgusting. In anger, he expresses claims to business partners, but those who do not care deeply about his feelings. This failure forces Ray to reconsider his development strategy. He draws attention to the wandering salesman and invites him to invest in the next point. He accepts the hero's offer and opens an eatery with his wife, who distributes candies to children during the opening. This inspires Ray, whose wife is not too supportive of his endeavors. In addition, the chain of fast food restaurants is positioned as a family cafe, which gives an additional charm to the couple. Ray and his wife visit the canteen where he communicates with the middle class, especially with spouses. He's urging them to get their hands on the McDonald's franchise. This policy is bearing fruit. Traveling around the country, Ray recruits more and more new managers who open their own cafes and deduct a percentage of the profits to him and his brothers. At this time, the brothers learn that the hero calls the point in Des Plaines the first McDonald's restaurant, which they do not really like. At the opening of the next point, Ray is met by an enthusiastic crowd. Later, at a dinner at a restaurant with investors, he meets the owner of the establishment who also wants to invest in a fast food chain. The attention of the businessman is attracted by the wife of his new colleague Joanna. He even performs one song with her on the piano. Upon returning home, he boasts to his wife that now investors themselves are looking for a meeting with him. However, a financial problem is soon revealed. The deductions laid down for him under the contract are not enough for work. Ray calls Dick to improve conditions, but the brothers refuse. In addition, due to a delay in the loan, the bank wants to take his house away from him, which his wife finds out about. After a quarrel with bankers, the man visits Joanna's restaurant, after which they meet for dinner as a threesome. A woman suggests switching to powdered extract for milkshakes, which will save on ice cream and energy for refrigerators in which it is stored. Joanna treats Ray to a diluted cocktail, and Ray agrees it's a great idea. His interest in a woman who shares his ideals is growing. However, Dick refuses on principle to switch to a powdered shake. Ray asks the banker for another trial but is denied. His speech is heard by Harry Sanborn, a financial consultant. He offers the businessman his help. After studying the contract, Harry offers to buy real estate on which McDonald's stands. By renting them out, Ray can make a profit regardless of the decision of the brothers. For the sake of this, he organizes a new corporation, which Dick does not really like. Nevertheless, the hero stands his ground formally. He does not violate the terms of the current contract. In addition, the chain of restaurants is growing. Ray is interviewed and his photos adorn the covers of magazines. But soon he decides to disobey Dick and transfer all the points to the powdered extract to save money. He personally brings the first batch to Joanna, but later in the night they discuss expansion prospects over the phone while his wife pretends to sleep in an empty bed. Dick finds out that the businessman has given the go-ahead for powdered cocktails and expresses his disagreement. He threatens legal action, but Ray refuses to comply. His current financial situation allows him to drown his opponents in legal costs and simply ruin him. Later, at dinner with his wife, the hero admits that he wants a divorce, but when dividing the property, he refuses to transfer her at least one share of the company. He later sends Dick a new extract powder with a letter emblazoned with the McDonald's logo. The brothers are arguing with him on the phone. And for stress, Poppy falls unconscious. He is later visited by Ray at the hospital and offered by the Hollow Man as payment for their share of the business. They are free to enter any amount. After thinking for a while, the brothers agree. They can't compete with a huge company, but among the conditions they have not only a lump sum payment, but also the right to keep their cafe, as well as perpetual payments of 1% of the profits. Ray at first does not agree to the lawyer's urge to meet halfway. At the same time, he insists that the deal for a 1% payment of profits will be concluded verbally and sealed with a handshake. This was done so that bankers, when issuing loans, did not pay attention to an additional very problematic item. Reluctantly, the brothers agree to meet the businessman who has already deceived them once. Later in the toilet, the hero admits to Dick that all success is built not only on their kitchen innovations, but also on the very name of McDonald's, which sounds very American. Lawyers take away from the brothers the right to use the surname in the name of the diner, which is why the sign is partially dismantled. At this time, right opposite, a full-fledged official McDonald's 100th in a row is being built. Ray cuts the red ribbon and then looks nostalgically smugly at the building where it all began. The case is moved to 1970. Ray Kroc rehearses in front of a mirror in his mansion for a speech to meet with California Senator Ronald Reagan, the country's future president. He is watched over by Joanna, his current wife. In the finale, an archival recording of an interview with the real Ray Kroc is included, which tells about how he realized that McDonald is an American word. The film ends with credits with an information note about the further fate of the participants in the story. Secretary John Martina became a co-owner of the corporation and the first woman to be allowed to trade on the New York Stock Exchange. Fred Turner, the former chef, succeeded Ray as senior chairman. Under his leadership, the franchise appeared in more than 100 countries. Harry Sanborn became the first president and CEO, but resigned in 1967 due to disagreements with Ray. Joanna lived in a marriage until his death in 1984, after which he lowered $1.5 billion to charity. Today, McDonald's is the largest owner of real estate in the world, and 1% of all the inhabitants of the planet eat in restaurants with golden arches forming the letter M. The Dick and Poppy business could not compete with the restaurants that opened opposite with their names and went bankrupt after a few years. They received the promised payments from the profits, since no evidence of such a transaction remained. Today, 1% of McDonald's fast food restaurant chain makes more than $100 million a year. Thanks for watching to the end. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and watch our next videos.